Let me get some feedback first from the audience to make sure that we're live here. So, okay. So, all right. Everyone's saying they hear us. So let's go ahead and get. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, guys. This is Tai Zen. All right. I'm broadcasting from Dallas, Texas today, and with me, beaming in live from Austin, Texas, second best city to live in America, is the Honorable Grandmaster, legendary, world-renowned LeonFu.com, the great oracle of crypto.
Hey guys, how are you?
The Chuck Norris of crypto, and an all-around good guy. An all-around good guy, right? Oh, and according to Troy in the comment there, he said that Texas is the best country to live in the world.
I agree with that, yes.
I agree with that. We both agree with that.
If it wasn't, we would have left by now.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But we are not here today, folks, to talk about the best country to live in the world, which is Texas, right? We're talking about one of the best indexes that market indexes that we have just created, our team has created. And first of all, I want to give credit to the creation of these indexes, to our other partner. There's like three of us on the team, guys, or the three founders of this channel. And the other one, his name is David. Sometimes you guys hear us talk about him, sometimes you don't. We are still pulling teeth to get him to come public, He doesn't care to be public. He's a very badass trader and investor. He's heavy into the options market and into the stock market, and he's also heavy into cryptocurrencies. And I think that towards the end of this year, I think we may have to do an announcement and pull him out of the shadows and into the light here. But let's get back and focus on this. So David has finally allowed us to release the two new market indexes that we created, guys. These are two very powerful tools to help us make better and accurate cryptocurrency investing decisions. If you guys want to follow what Leon and I are going to explain, please go to TaiFuindexes.com. Okay? Whether you spell it plural or singular, it will still go to the same site. So TaiFuindexes.com, and go to the top right, and it'll say indexes, and click on it. And if you pull up the TaiFu 30 altcoin index first, Leon and I will explain to you guys why we created this index and how to use it to make better investing decisions. Okay, so I'm pulling it up myself here, Leon. All right, so you want to explain what to the audience what the TaiFu 30 market altcoin index is?
Sure.
The TaiFu market index.
Well, let's just to bring everyone up to speed. We had the original index was the TaiFu 30 crypto market index, which was just the highest market cap, the 30 most valuable cryptocurrencies on the market, and it was intended as a gauge as the health of the overall market. But of course, because this is a market-weighted index, and because Bitcoin is still the most dominant cryptocurrency, with about 50% of the total market share, most of us do not. Our portfolios are not 50% Bitcoin. Okay, I think the only crypto investors who have a weighting of 50% Bitcoin or more are the Bitcoin maximalists that we're all so fond of.
I'm laughing because you're taking stabs at the Bitcoin maximalists, man.
No, I love the Bitcoin maximalists. I do. I love them. I love their enthusiasm, and I love that they're so principled, and I like to make fun of them, but I love them too because they really believe.
I think you like going in the opposite direction that they go in because it's been proven to be very profitable to go. They go in.
That's right. That's right. I will. They can have my bitcoins. If they want my bitcoins, I'm definitely a seller to them. Yeah. But we wanted an index that more accurately reflects, that's closer to what our portfolios look like, which is without Bitcoin, right? Not that we don't have any Bitcoin. Bitcoin is certainly still a core position in my portfolio and many investors' portfolio, but it's not the dominant cryptocurrency in our portfolio because we don't believe Bitcoin will remain the dominant cryptocurrency going forward. So we created this index called the TaiFu 30 Altcoin Market Index, which is similar to the TaiFu 30 except without Bitcoin.
Or any derivative or any hard fork.
Correct, any fork of Bitcoin. So therefore, it also does not include Bitcoin Cash, right? Now, this index is just will help us follow because this is closer to what our portfolios would look like. We don't necessarily have a 50% weighting in Ethereum, but by now, if you had been doing any kind of crypto investing, you probably have a position that has become 50% of your portfolio. Not because you put in 50%, but because it became 50% of your portfolio. And the first altcoin that went up that much to be able to do that was Ethereum. So therefore, Ethereum still here has a 49% weighting. But we wanted to track what the markets look like without Bitcoin. Since Bitcoin is not a dominant position in most of our portfolios here. So that's why we created this.
Okay, so I also want to just clarify that it does not include the market cap of Bitcoin or any hard fork of Bitcoin, such as Bitcoin Cash.
Yes.
And it has to be a hard fork that it does not include any derivative of Bitcoin that shares the same Genesis block as the original Bitcoin that was created by Satoshi Nakamoto back in 2009. So I just want to make that clear in case someone like why there's other Bitcoins that are included in the index, but then Bitcoin Cash is not included.
Yeah, and because you would have gotten Bitcoin Cash. When we consider the price of Bitcoin, we really consider Bitcoin plus all the baby Bitcoins, right?
And we'll explain that in the second index that we talk about.
Yes, we'll explain that as we decided to create a separate index to track Bitcoin and Bitcoin derivatives because Bitcoin is no longer just Bitcoin.
Okay.
And, let's segue into that then, Kai, about our second one.
Okay. Well, before we segue into that, right? Let's talk about how the investors, crypto investors, can use this to help them in their portfolio, right? One way that I can think of that we use this index for is so that we can gauge our performance, right? So this index started in June, right? We started in June. And David had to work out all the bugs out of it before we can release it. And so this is like a super pre-alpha version. The production version won't come in until later at the end of this year or early in 2018 before we have a production grade. So we want to launch this today so that people can start using it. There is a 24-hour delay before the data is updated because right now the altcoin, the TaiFu 30 altcoin index, should be around like 72 billion, but there's a 24-hour delay before it gets updated. So it updates every day at GMT 0 hours, okay? And so one way that we are looking to use this for the audience to know is that we're using it to gauge our performance. So at the end of the year, if the TaiFu 30 altcoin market index is up, let's say 1,000%, and our personal portfolios are up only 800%, then that means that we did not do as well as the TaiFu 30 altcoin market index. Yeah. Okay. If at the end of the year, the altcoin market index is at 1,000%, but our portfolio is at 2,000%, then that means that we did significantly better. So it's a good metric and a barometer to measure the overall performance of your portfolio. And this will be a consistent computer-generated number, right? And the number represents the billions. So right now it shows on the index 62.109. It's up 0.03 within the last 24 hours. And that means that the market right now is at a 62 billion market cap based on what it shows there. And keep in mind, guys, we're about 24 hours before it's updated again, so it will show higher, right? So wait, David is sending me a text to clarify that it is updated, and he says that it doesn't include, it only includes the top 30 altcoins. There's like 800 and something altcoins, but this is only taking into account the top biggest 30 altcoin market caps. So it's not going to include the other 800 and something, right? So that's why it's going to be slightly below what the actual market cap of all the altcoins are.
Yeah, okay. And that's our goal, really. That we use this number to measure how our portfolio is doing versus the entire market. Our goal is really to match or exceed the overall growth of the crypto market. That's what we're trying to do.
Okay, hey, you want to explain to the audience real quick why we only choose the top 30 biggest altcoins and not all 800 plus altcoins that's on the market right now?
Yes, we only do the top 30 because the top 30 represent over 95% or better of the value of the entire crypto market. Remember what the intention is. The intention is to measure the size of the overall market. That's what we wanted these indexes to do. And just Bitcoin and Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash, which I consider just part of Bitcoin because it came from Bitcoin, are well over, just those two alone is, what is it, that back of the napkin math.
It's like 72 billion, somewhere around right, yeah. 70, 80 billion.
Yeah. I mean, just 83 plus 31, 110 out of the 156, right? Just two coins are over 80% of the market. So the 30, basically, we've captured a snapshot of the entire market at that given moment. The bottom 1,000 coins don't really impact the overall market simply because they're too small. In other words, you only need 30 to measure the entire market. You don't need all 1,000 altcoins to get a good representation of the market, and that just comes from statistics.
Yeah, and so that's in case anyone's wondering why we only go with the top 30, that's the reason why, because it represents the huge portion of the altcoin market. Okay, so you brought up Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin several times.
Yes.
And now's a good time to segue into the second index that we are going to release today, and that is the TaiFu 30 Bitcoin Aggregate Index, which we have nicknamed the Ma Bell Index. And if you guys go to the top, go to TaiFuindexes.com, and at the top where it says indexes, if you click on a mouse over that and select the TaiFu Bitcoin Ma Bell Aggregate Index, We'll explain what that is and how to use that as well in your portfolio. Okay, so you want to first talk about what the Bitcoin Aggregate Index is,
Yeah.
and then afterwards we can go into why we nicknamed it the Ma Bell Aggregate Index, the Ma Bell Index.
Sure. Well, on August 1st, a group of miners implemented a hard fork, which we now call Bitcoin Cash. So this was, you know, everyone who held Bitcoin before August 1st now have two Bitcoins, right? They have the original Bitcoin, and what we now have is called Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash is really a fork of the original chain. In other words, you know, there's Bitcoin that is going along, here's the blockchain, and then about 10% of the hashing power, 10% of the miners decided to implement a new version of Bitcoin, which they call Bitcoin Cash. So they created they branched off into this new blockchain that's separate from the original Bitcoin blockchain. And so if you held any Bitcoin before that point, before that block number, you now have a Bitcoin and a Bitcoin Cash. You actually have two Bitcoins from one Bitcoin because a group of miners decided that they didn't agree with Bitcoin Core, and they hard forked. This is similar to what happened with Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. In that case, the Ethereum Foundation decided to hard fork to reverse the DAO, while a group in the community of Ethereum decided that they did not believe in the hard fork, and they continued with the original chain, which today is known as Ethereum Classic. And that's why today we have Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. They're two of the same. Well, the same thing has just happened to Bitcoin, which is now Bitcoin Core, let's call it, and Bitcoin Cash. And the reason we created this index is because we don't believe that this is the last time this is going to happen. We believe that Bitcoin Cash is the first of many hard forks that are coming in the future. For example, there's another hard fork, I think, coming in September or November. I forgot the exact date, but it's the segregated witness. It's a 2x hard fork, SegWit 2x, or the New York Agreement, which they said that they were going to do segregated witness, and then they were going to hard fork to 2 megabyte blocks. You know, we believe that because that we're going to have a lot of baby Bitcoins. Hence, we named it the index Bitcoin Ma Bell, because in the 70s, AT&T was broken up by the government into what we call the baby bells. And
so
today,
just explain real quick, right? That AT&T, just to add this, AT&T was the largest phone company in the United States. It provided most of the phone service in the United States and in Canada, and they had a monopoly on it. So the U.S. government filed a antitrust, anti-monopoly suit against them, and they ended up winning, and it caused AT&T to break up its huge company into multiple small companies called Baby Bells, and they all came from the same Bell company that originally was sued by the government.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why we call the Bitcoin Aggregate Index the Ma Bell Index, simply because all these baby Bitcoins that are going to be growing and forking out of it. Now, explain to the audience, Leon, that when the Bitcoin maximalists hear you talking about that anticipation of future continual hard forks with Bitcoin producing a bunch of baby Bitcoins, they're going to be up in arms and throw a fit and probably shit, as they would say in Texas, right? Yeah. So can you explain why you believe that's going to happen again?
Yes, it's going to happen again because Bitcoin, once again, we've harped on this over and over again in our channel. Bitcoin lacks any governance process. We don't mean, now when we say governance, we don't mean government. We mean the process as to how decisions in the community are made, how how a community comes together and forms a consensus, a decision about something. And that could be through government. That is certainly one way societies and communities organize themselves, is they create a government, and then the government decides, makes decisions on behalf of the community. Or it could be some other process. It could be some kind of proposal mechanism, like Dash is working on this, Decred is working on this, Tezos is working on this, these different on-blockchain governance mechanism. So Bitcoin does not have any such mechanism built into it, or even any agreement, formal or informal, within the community. So every time there's a disagreement within the community, such as the one we've just seen, a hard fork is going to happen. You know, as long as enough people want to or disagree with the rest of the community, there is nothing to stop them from forking the source code and creating a split in the chain. And as long as they have enough users, enough miners, and enough exchanges that support that decision, we will see a fork of it. And it's already happened once with Bitcoin Cash, and it is not the last. It will happen again, in our view, multiple times. Every time there's some controversy, every time there's some contention about an issue, we will see a hard fork, and it will be called Bitcoin XYZ or Bitcoin whatever, you know, whatever they choose to name themselves. And they will call themselves Bitcoin because they share the same Genesis block.
And that's extremely important. That's extremely important for the audience to know, is that whenever we add a new Bitcoin to the Bitcoin Ma Bell Aggregate Index, it needs to share the same Genesis block as the original Bitcoin that Satoshi Nakamoto created back in 2009.
Yeah, and let me go over that, because I've gotten a lot of confusion. People are they're confused about what the word fork means. There's two kinds of forks, right? Where we call copycat. We used to call the altcoins copycat coins. Such as like Litecoin was the first one that really gained momentum. It was the first like copycat coin. There's a fork could mean they fork off of Bitcoin's source code, right? They take the Bitcoin repository in GitHub and they fork it, and then they create Litecoin, or they create Dogecoin, or they create hundreds of these other forks of Bitcoin. But all of those Bitcoins share the same code base, but they don't share. They're a brand new chain. They started with a new Genesis block. They're not a continuation of the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, Bitcoin Cash is different because it also, like Litecoin or Dogecoin or Dash, is also forked from the original Bitcoin source code, but it keeps the same Genesis block. Everything before that block number, when they forked, they share the same history, right? Litecoin or Dogecoin or Dash do not share the same history. They restarted from block 0, and they created their new chain. So I just like to make that distinction, that these Ma Bell, what we're trying to track here, and okay, so if people ask me then, why is that important? It's important because if you own Bitcoin before that fork, when that fork happens, you automatically get Bitcoin Cash, right? You don't have to do anything. You automatically have it. Dogecoin or Litecoin or Dash or all these others, you have to go buy them. You don't automatically have them, right? And that's a very important distinction, because one of the advantages I see from Bitcoin Cash is, as long as you own Bitcoin, you automatically have it. You can't not take it, right? And now granted, you can send them to exchanges and sell them, but you have to take some kind of action, right, to get rid of them. You own them until you make a conscious decision to sell it to somebody. Versus Litecoin, you don't have any Litecoin. You have to actually give up some of your Bitcoins in order to get Litecoin. Here, everybody who owned Bitcoin automatically got Bitcoin Cash. Whether you wanted it or not, you have it. And that's a very important distinction. And it's what we're trying to track Bitcoin here in this index, because we want to track, like, if you owned a Bitcoin from the beginning or from before any of the forks, how much is that Bitcoin worth? Well, it's worth the 4,400 where Bitcoin is today, plus the 600 where Bitcoin Cash is. And so the total value of all the aggregate Bitcoin is that $500, because we have to add up every single Bitcoin that shares the same Genesis block, because by default, we own all of them without having to do anything if you owned any Bitcoins before the fork happened.
Yeah, so this is something I want to add to that, okay? So people are asking, like Miss Generic 123 is asking, are we surprised that the sum of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash is higher after the fork? And we are not surprised at all. This is the reason why we created the TaiFu Bitcoin Aggregate Index, is to measure what we believe is the true value of Bitcoin. The true value of Bitcoin is not the $4,400 that it is right now as we're speaking. It's the $4,400 plus the $600+ of Bitcoin Cash, which makes the real value of Bitcoin over $5,000 per Bitcoin. That's what we wanted, a tool that actually helps us to measure the combined total value of Bitcoin, whether it's the mother Bitcoin plus all the baby Bitcoins that are produced from it, And in case you're not from the U.S. and English is your second language, Ma means mother. It's a shortened, endearing term that means mother in English. So Ma Bell means the mother Bell company. So the Bitcoin Ma Bell. So Bitcoin is the original mother, and all the baby Bitcoins like Bitcoin Cash is coming from it. So we have to add the value of that together so we can get an accurate sense of what the true value of Bitcoin is.
Yeah, and the other reason we believe that there'll be more forks of Bitcoin is because it was profitable, as Ms. Generic has just mentioned, right? So if it makes money, you can be pretty sure it's not going to happen just once, right? It's going to happen again and again until it doesn't make money anymore. And that's another reason why we're expecting more baby Bitcoins to emerge going forward. Yeah.
And we always get that question, Leon, that, hey, are you guys invested into Bitcoin Cash? And here's the disclaimer or the disclosure that we always have for all our videos. If you hear us talking about it, you can safely assume that we are invested into it. So,
and in the case of Bitcoin Cash, you are automatically invested into it. As long as you owned any Bitcoin before August 1st, you're invested in it whether or not you want to be. You did not have to take any action. If you held any Bitcoin, you automatically are invested into Bitcoin Cash unless you choose to divest yourself of it. So yes, I have not moved any of my Bitcoin Cashes that came from when all the Bitcoins that I held before the fork. So therefore, I'm invested in it. Yeah.
Okay, so that's just safe to say that you guys don't have to ask whether it's Bitcoin Cash or not. If you hear us talking about it, just assume that it's safe to assume that we are invested into it. Especially if we take the time for our team to build an index around it. It's very, very likely that we are invested into it. Okay, so we wouldn't have built the tool, the index tool, if we were not invested into it. Okay. And Jasper asked how many more splits you're thinking about Bitcoin splitting into. Let's just keep the questions, guys, related to these two indexes and these two tools that we've created and released to the public. All right. And then after this video, we're live right now. After this, we'll turn off, we'll conclude this episode, and then we'll come back on live and we'll do a separate episode about, so if you want to stick around for our second segment on the topic of Bitcoin Cash, right, you're welcome to stick around after this episode, okay? So we've explained this to you guys about what the TaiFu 30 altcoin altcoin market indexes, and then with the TaiFu Bitcoin aggregate indexes. Now we'll spend a few minutes and take some questions, and then we'll conclude this broadcast, and then we'll come back on live again to do another segment on a different topic. Okay, so let me see. How many more splits are you thinking? Sounds a lot. I thought just one more segment, 2x. No, I think we will have more, because anytime anytime that you are there's a profit potential to be made in the cryptocurrency world, you can expect that more people will do it. So the fact that they did an airdrop, which means that they made Bitcoin Cash available in everyone's Bitcoin wallet, and it's a $10 billion market. Anytime that you create a $10 billion network out of thin air like that, you can bet that there will be hundreds of more people that will follow behind it to try to replicate that same success. Okay.
Yeah, and let me add something to that, Tai. Now, other projects have done airdrops before, such as Stellar and Gigabit or Gigabyte. You know, there's a bunch of these that have done it, but once again, they didn't do a hard fork from the Bitcoin blockchain. You had to go claim it. You had to go sign up on their website. Maybe like in Stellar, you had to give them your Facebook account or do something in order to get your free coins, even if you didn't have to buy them. But here, I expect this might actually be a better way to do start a project. Is to just directly fork off of the Bitcoin blockchain, because if your project gets any value, if those coins get any value, everyone automatically, all the Bitcoin holders automatically get it. And that's a very powerful way to draw people into your community, whether they want to or not. Because, if it's really free money, people usually won't give that away. They'll take the time to go download your software and get their coins. Just like we saw with Bitcoin Cash, people were asking me like, how do I get my $600 Bitcoin Cash or whatever my Bitcoin Cash is, because I don't want to lose out on that free money. So we saw how good that was from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, and you guys need to understand this, is that people are not going to say no to free money. I've never met anyone that said no to free money. And number two is that if there's an opportunity to make money, then more people will do it. Okay, the reason why we have such a huge influx of people into the cryptocurrency market right now is because they've seen so many millionaires being created in the cryptocurrency market, and so many people like myself and LeonFu.com and other people on our team who have retired from investing in cryptocurrencies. So because of that, you can bet that there are going to be more people that are going to jump into this market because of that. And if there's an opportunity to create another $10 billion network, right, you can bet that they will be there. Okay. So what I'm going to do is this: is that I'm going to ask everyone to stop texting me so that I can show them. Just David asked me to show everyone how to navigate the site and get to the indexes real quick. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to do a quick screen share here, guys. And then while we're doing this, let me know when you can see my screen. Okay, Leon? All right, can you guys see my screen?
I see it, Tai. So
okay, so when you guys want to come and see these indexes, on the home page right here is where the broad market index is at, and we feel that we created the first cryptocurrency broad market index here. If you guys know anyone else that did it before us, right? Please let us know so we can make sure that we say accurate information on this channel. I know that this is if you go here to index, you can see the TaiFu 30 altcoin index and the TaiFu Bitcoin aggregate index here. And as we add more indexes to this, we'll include it all in that menu right there. And there it is right there. There's the altcoin, and then there's a description of it, of what the index is, okay? And what I like that David did here is that he separated into, so it's clean right here, so that you can see what the components of the TaiFu 30 altcoin market index is. And I like it because he highlighted it in red or green to show which ones went up and went down. The ones that are in red means that there's a drop in percentage, like this one, Ripple drop minus 14%. And he also put the minus sign in there in case someone is colorblind, they can still see it if they cannot see red and green, okay? So there it is right there. I like looking at this format because it's nice and clean. There's not too much clutter. Our goal is to make these indexes as clean as possible and take the Apple and Google approach and make it as simple as possible for people to see it and understand it. You can go to the TaiFu Bitcoin Ma Bell aggregate index here. And something else that I really like that David did on this was that he did an area graph right here where he color-coded Bitcoin in light blue, and then he color-coded the Bitcoin Cash from right here in purple, okay, from when it started on August 1st around here. And so that's how it is. And as soon as we have more baby Bitcoins that come from the original Satoshi's Bitcoin from 2009's Genesis, then we'll continue to add it more on here, okay? Anything you want to add to that before I take it off the screen share, Leon?
No, that was good.
Okay, so let me take it off the screen share and answer the last few questions here, and then we'll wrap up this episode here. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, all right, so one of the questions that Yasan asked was, how can someone use this index, right? And the way that you use this index, you want to explain how they use it? Because I explained it earlier already, Leon. Maybe you can explain it in a different way.
Yeah. So which indexes is he referring to? The Bitcoin?
Yeah, both of them.
Both of them. All right. Well, the altcoin index is a way, because most of us are not heavily weighted into Bitcoin, right? We have a portfolio, a diversified portfolio of altcoins. So we took Bitcoin out, and we wanted an index to show what a portfolio without Bitcoin would look like. Now, this way, this gives you a benchmark for your own portfolio so that you can measure how you're doing, right? Like, are you beating the index? Are you beating the overall market? Or are you lagging? Or are you keeping up? And this is a way for you to measure that. That's how we use it. That we measure is like, all right, well, the market, the TaiFu index is, say, down 30%. Is our portfolio also down 20%, or is it down more than that, 40%, or are we keeping up? So that's the way we use the broad, the altcoin index, because one of the reasons we did this is the last run-up, the last rally that we had back to all-time highs was led by Bitcoin, right, and Bitcoin Cash. That's why we are at all-time highs, over $150 billion in market cap. The Bitcoin Dominance Index is back over 50% if you also add in Bitcoin Cash. And that's a big rally from the last time the market was at all-time highs. Bitcoin Dominance was at 40%. So this run-up, this recovery that we've had was led by Bitcoin. And most of us who were not so heavy into Bitcoin, who did not have 40% or more position in Bitcoin, lagged the market. So we created this altcoin index as a more accurate gauge as to how our strategy, because it's an index that more closely mimics our own portfolio strategy rather than just a broad market index. Now, the Ma Bell Bitcoin index, we created that to track the overall value of Bitcoin, because we believe that if we're going to count how well Bitcoin is doing, we have to count Bitcoin and all the baby Bitcoins combined together. Because if you owned one Bitcoin, if you were one of these, you know, you got a whole Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is gold. You got a whole Bitcoin, right? If you're one of those investors, then this index will more track what is the value of your Bitcoin, because your Bitcoin is not just one Bitcoin anymore. Now you have a portfolio. We believe you will have a portfolio of all these baby Bitcoins that are coming.
Okay, and also it helps too, when you look at the TaiFu altcoin market index, it allows you to be able to get a glimpse of what your altcoin portfolio should be doing or should not be doing. And you can also, I'll use a real world example here. So basically when the way that we use all these indexes is to gauge performance. That's the main reason. And there's two types of performances that we are gauging, we are looking to gauge for, so you guys know, when we're investing, managing our portfolio. One is the size of the overall size of the market, right? And the second is the overall size of the profit gain, or the gain in profits, okay? So for example, when the TaiFu 30 market cap was at the all-time highs back in, I think it was July or June, when it was at, when the market cap was at 115 billion market cap, we looked at what our portfolio was, and when it pulled back to like 63 billion market cap, right? We looked at, that was like a, what is it, like a 50% drop, almost a 50% drop there. And when we look at our own personal portfolios, we saw only like 20 or 30% drop. So that means that we were able to manage our portfolio efficiently so that we don't take the same drawdown as the market. And then when the market shoots back up now to where it is today, where it has gone up, what, from 115 billion to 155 billion, we look at that to see what the difference is from 115 billion up to 155 billion. And we ask ourselves, if the market grew that amount, how much did our portfolio grow? And if our portfolio's growth exceeds what the broad markets did, then that shows that we are doing something. If we're just matching what the broad market does, that's also good. We're not saying it's bad, but what we want to avoid is where the broad markets, the TaiFu broad market index goes up 50% and our personal portfolios only go up 10%. Then that means that we're not doing as well as what the market's doing. So it's a gauge and a benchmark for us to determine how well are we doing, because at the end of the day, we can say that we are good investors or we are bad investors or whatever, but at the end of the day, we need something to measure it by and not just go by our gut feelings, okay? So let me see, let's take the next question here. Are you done answering that question, Leon? I'll take the next question.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so Miss Generic asked that it's difficult to get getting Bitcoin Cash out of a Bitcoin paper wallet. Do you think that's why the price is so high, due to the technical difficulties to sell? Well, the price is high because that could be one of the reasons, but the main reason is because there's a demand for it. So whether even if it's technically difficult for people to get the Bitcoin Cash out into an exchange and sell it, the fact that somebody wants to pay $700 or $800 or $900 or $1,000 for it shows that the market has a demand for it, regardless of the reason. Okay,
yeah. And it's huge volume. I mean, Bitcoin Cash. I mean, that price is real because you know, it's hundreds of millions to billions of dollars traded per day. So that's across dozens of exchanges around the world. So that's a pretty accurate price, in my opinion, because of the volume and of the amount traded and the diversity of exchanges that are traded in.
Okay, I'm trying to look at these different questions here. Okay. Okay, people are asking to translate our videos. You are welcome to translate them at any time you want. Just make sure that you guys credit us for it, and that's it. If you want to use our videos on your channels, you're welcome to do that too. Let me see. You don't need to ask his permission. We're giving you guys permission there. Let me see. Okay, so Jasper9P brought up a good point here, Leon, and we'll bring this up to our developer, David. He says that the Ma Bell index, the color is too close, and he's colorblind, so you really can't see the difference between the Bitcoin Cash color and the Bitcoin. So thanks for the feedback there, Jasper. We'll work on that. I don't think that's a very hard problem to fix. So we'll figure that out. Let me see. Okay, so Lavera Design asked that she sees the bottom, you show weekly charts. Are you planning to keep this via full year or just be a few weeks? Right now, it's just for a few weeks. Right now, Lavera, and towards our goal is we're working on the getting a team together to build out the production grade, which means that we'll have it similar to what TradingView has, to where you can track it, do technical analysis on it and everything. And that won't be out until, I think, later this year or the beginning of 2018. We're working on it, okay? Let me see, Ms. Generic asked, do you think all of this is useless if the market crashes huge? It's crashed like, well, how many times already, Leon? 6, 7 times already? It won't matter. Even if it crashes 90%, cryptocurrencies will still survive, continue onwards.
Yeah, we've already had crashes. It's crashed. Yeah. We've had 80, 90% crashes. So
yeah, if you're new to cryptocurrencies, this may be your first crash, but for Leon and I, we've seen multiple crashes already, and it's still going up. Keep in mind, guys, cryptocurrencies is a new technology. Okay, even if the market crashes, it doesn't matter. The technology is still going to move and advance and progress. Okay. Let me see. Victor T asked if we can publish the formula used to calculate the TaiFu indexes. Right? We have a description of what it is. So as we go along, we will explain that. We're just trying to get it out so that people can start using it first. And then once we get the production grade indexes out, then we'll have more information on it. Okay. Let me see. Let me see. Coinbase is holding around 500,000 coins of Bitcoin Cash. That will be a lot of supply in January. Okay, so I guess he means that they're going to release those Bitcoin Cash to everyone in 2018. And I don't believe that it will matter. Even if they release it today and it's made public today, there's going to be a group of people that will sell to take profits, and there will be a group of people that will hold on to it for it to increase in value. So it doesn't really matter if they release it now or in the future, in my opinion. What do you think, Leon?
I think that if that information is known, that's priced in. You know, even people always say that, oh, lockups are, you know, we've seen this, but, you know, the people buying it, remember that the market participants who are in the market they're buying, they know that, right? You can't assume they are stupid and don't know that. So as long as that information is widely distributed, that's reflected in the price.
Yeah, and next question is Rysek Ochucky asked, will you guys make an Android index version of this? The answer is yes. We are working on all of that right now. I've been trying to convince LeonFu.com here to make a iOS version of it, since he is a software engineer and he was the lead iOS developer for the Dell project that he was working on at Dell Computers, right? And he said to me that absolutely not. He said that if he never has to code another line of code again, he will not be sad about it, because he said he got into crypto investing so that he will never have to write another line of code again. So I don't think Leon's going to be the one that does it. So we have to hire outside software engineers to build it for us. So, all right, so that's all the questions we have. I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us on this live broadcast where we released the TaiFu 30 Altcoin Market Index and the TaiFu Bitcoin Ma Bell Aggregate Index. And I hope that it helps you guys with your cryptocurrency investing and to help you guys make better investment decisions as well, like it did for us. And we'll look forward to, before the end of the year, we'll release, there's a few more that we're working on, and we're getting the kinks worked out. If you are someone that understands how broad market indexes are created and how it's done, and you have some thoughts on how we can make the indexes better, especially in the area of when to add a new coin and when to remove it, please contact us privately, and we'll be happy to consider your input while building these indexes out. Okay. Victor T asked if we can create these TaiFu indexes fetchable via an API, and the answer is absolutely yes. We're working on that right at the moment. Okay. And then he said that someone else can create the app instead. Yes, we are working on that all at the moment. Guys, there's like 1,000 opportunities right now in the cryptocurrency market, and we are busting our ass, you know, even though we're supposed to be retired, right? There's so much opportunities that sometimes it's hard to say no to all of them, okay? So if, once we get that out, we'll release it to you guys, all right? So thanks for joining us on this broadcast to release the 2 new indexes that we created, guys. And we look forward to hearing you guys, feedback from you guys. If you guys like it, give us a thumbs up. If you guys don't like it, give us a thumbs down, so we'll know not to waste time making more of these videos. And we look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. We're going to end this broadcast, and we're going to start another live broadcast to go over another topic about cryptocurrency investing. So join us there, okay? So this will conclude this broadcast, and I'll see you guys in the next one.